What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, let the mind games begin ahead of the highly anticipated undisputed junior middleweight showdown between two-time junior middleweight world champion, unified WBC, WBA, IBF, Ring Magazine, world champion superstar boxer Jermell Charlo, and undefeated Argentina superstar boxer Brian Castano, who is the WBO junior middleweight world champion. With that said, the fight is scheduled to take place now, which was scheduled to be today, and the weigh-in was held yesterday. Some tempers flared, and now, according to Espn Deportes and a few other boxing websites, they are reporting that Brian Castano is now letting it be known that he is willing to pull out the fight because he cited that after the weigh-in, they go and they check and try on their gloves and pick their gloves, that there's an issue with Jermell Charlo's gloves, and unless he makes a change or fix it, then he's willing to pull out of this fight. I believe this is all a ploy, to play mind games with Jermell Charlo. They both wear the same pair of gloves. They both wear Grant gloves. I've never heard anybody complain about Grant gloves having any issues, whether it be down to little to no padding or, too much padding. I've never heard anybody complain about Grant gloves. Both fighters wear Grant gloves. So according to ESPN Deportes, they're saying that Brian Castano is citing an issue with one of the gloves that Jermell Charlo is wearing. Okay. So I guess it's one defective glove in the pair. Okay. There's always multiple pair of gloves on deck, and ironically enough, we know that Jermell Charlo, he cited when Olympic bronze medalist, former WBC American heavyweight world champion, superstar boxer Deontay "The Bronze Bomber" Wilder made accusations that undefeated two-time heavyweight world champion British superstar boxer Tyson "Gypsy King" Fury fought Deontay Wilder. He believes that there might have been an object in the gloves, allegedly. I have to say allegedly. Deontay Wilder does not. Jermell Charlo, he chimed in and he stated that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the gloves. Deontay Wilder just simply lost the fight. Here now we have news that Brian Castano is essentially saying that there's an issue with Jermell Charlo's glove. Okay, even in translation, if you, I had somebody attempt to translate the article from ESPN Deportes. It doesn't really make sense, what they're saying, as far as they're saying it's an object in the glove, allegedly, or something of that nature, or there's a deformality in the glove or something of that nature. And this, according to ESPN Deportes, so the article is in Spanish, and I saw a couple of boxing websites on Twitter, they reported on this. And I believe this is all essentially, if this is true, and if Brian Castano is complaining about Jermell Charlo's glove, then I believe this is truly a ploy on the part of Brian Castano to, essentially, distract Jermell Charlo from the task at hand. Jermell Charlo, 34 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 18 wins by way of knockout. He's 31 years of age, stands at 5'11" with a 73.5-inch arm reach. Okay. With that said, Brian Castano, 17 wins, no losses, 1 draw, 12 wins by way of knockout. He's 31 years of age. He stands at 5'7" with a 67.5-inch arm reach. Okay. So Brian Castano, he's known to be unorthodox, have power, and it, this could possibly be, like I said, a way to distract Jermell Charlo. If this is true, if this is the case that Brian Castano is indeed complaining about the gloves, okay, because this is not being reported anywhere else, okay? I only see it on Latino websites, okay? You can't find it on any English websites. Even in the website I found, I put it in translation from Spanish to English, and it just doesn't add up. Then I had somebody try and translate it for me from Spanish to English, thinking that maybe the translation button is just simply not working, and it's still not adding up. So I don't know if this to be true, but if it is the case, Brian Castano team is reportedly willing to pull out of this fight. They are saying that, they want this to be on the even playing field. But again, I'll reiterate this. I've never known Grant gloves. Brian Castano wears Grant gloves. Jermell Charlo wears Grant gloves. I've never known anybody to say that Grant gloves, have an issue. Now, obviously, anything is possible. It's definitely possible for any pair of gloves to have, an issue or, a default in the glove. More than not, you hear this issue with Everlast MX gloves, horsehair gloves. Grant gloves are not. They are memory foam gloves, okay? So they don't have the material to be manipulated. You can manipulate Everlast MX gloves because they're horsehair gloves, okay? So the pattern can be maneuvered around. It could be pushed into the wrist area. It can be manipulated, right? That's not the case with Grant gloves. Most complaints I hear about Grant gloves is that they're too pillowish. I know fighters used to complain that Floyd Mayweather gloves were orthopedic gloves because he has hand injuries, and they were essentially protecting his hands. And fighters actually complained that, he shouldn't have gloves that actually protect his hands. Well, that's why boxing gloves was made, to protect the fighter's hands so that they could fight more often. Okay, that's why gloves, the advancement of gloves even came into existence, is to protect fighters' hands. So when it comes to Grant gloves, I've never heard anybody complain about them other than when Floyd Mayweather used to wear, his gloves, and people said they were specially made in orthopedic gloves to protect his hands. And we know the situation with Marcos Maidana. He attempted to wear Everlast MX gloves that were seemed to be already broken in. Floyd Mayweather felt that they were manipulated. There was no pattern in the knuckle area. We saw as recently as O'Shaquie Foster fighting Miguel Roman, and apparently there was a brand new pair of gloves had no pattern in the knuckle area. So it's usually Everlast MX gloves that have this issue, okay? And so there's certain styles of gloves that can be manipulated. Obviously we see the gloves that Tyson Fury wore are Paffin Sport MX Everlast version of Paffin Sport gloves, okay? Where the horsehair can be manipulated to give you essentially an edge, okay? But again, I've never seen anybody wear Grant gloves that the knuckle area or the pattern looked suspicious, okay? Grant gloves always look pretty firm. They always look very clean and neat and well manicured, and they come in different colors. So again, I'm going to reiterate this. Anything is possible within the sport of boxing. I've just never heard this case with Grant gloves. This is the first time. And if this is the case, then, essentially, shame on anybody involved, because this is a very dangerous sport, and any type of advantage when it comes to, equipment is never a good thing. Okay. You risk it all every time you step through the ropes, both fighters, so having any type of unfair advantage is, especially when it comes to giving you an edge in power and stamina, because as your opponent, you and your opponent wear down. If you don't naturally wear down and you're able to keep energy throughout, the duration of the fight, because you have an edge, that's never good. Okay, you keeping your power unnaturally through 12 rounds, or having an unadvantaged edge where you can gain power or hit harder. Those things are never good. We saw that with Antonio Margarito, where he was using essentially plaster on his wraps. So he wasn't even manipulating the gloves. He was just manipulating his hand wraps, okay? We all know the story of Panama Lewis and Luis Resto. But, these situations always have to be monitored very, very closely with a magnifying glass. So, like I said, I've never heard this with Grant gloves. The story that is coming from, the sources that this is coming from, Espn Deportes. ESPN is the worldwide leader in sports, but we know that ESPN don't always get their stories correctly. ESPN, a lot of times, especially when it comes to the sport of boxing, give a lot of misinformation, okay? And this is ESPN Deportes. Like I said, you look at the translation and you try to, if you look and find an article, and it doesn't give you the option to download it, okay? So I couldn't even copy and paste it so I could share it. So I don't know how true this is, but I saw a lot of boxing websites picking it up on Twitter, and maybe that's due to the fact that a lot of people don't fancy Jermell Charlo, okay? So we have to pay a close attention to this. This fight is a lot on the line. It's such a big fight. It's not the first time guys have issues with gloves going into the fight, leading up into the last hour right before, the deadline. It's not uncommon. So we got to see how this unfolds and plays out, if it's even true at all. Who knows? But maybe it'll pick up steam. Maybe it won't. Maybe there's no truth to this. Maybe ESPN Deportes got misinformation. Who knows? But let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Wow.